Eden was sealed. Paradise was lost. Humanity stepped into the wild earth. Cold, fragile, unfinished. And the Anunnaki believed exile would return humans to obedience. But they were wrong, because something had already been taken from the garden. Something invisible, yet unstoppable. A flame placed inside the human mind. Knowledge. And once knowledge is given, it cannot be ungiven, because the gods did not only create servants, they created successors. Beyond Eden, the earth was harsh. The soil was not soft. The sky did not protect. The nights were long. And the beasts of the land did not bow. Humans shivered beneath open stars. They had no walls, no temples, no guidance, only memory, and the strange awareness growing inside them. They were no longer children. They were no longer asleep, and the Anunnaki watched from above, waiting for humanity to collapse. But instead, humans began to adapt. One night, a storm struck the plains. Lightning tore the darkness apart. A tree ignited. Humans gathered, terrified, until one reached forward. He touched skin. Pain warned them, but the warmth also called them. And for the first time, humans held fire in their hands. Not gifted by gods, but discovered through will. The flames danced like spirits, and something ancient awakened. Creation does not belong only to the heavens. It can belong to earth, in the halls above. The Anunnaki argued. Some spoke with anger. They are learning too quickly. Others spoke with pride. They were meant to grow. One voice thundered, "We made them to serve." Another answered quietly, "Perhaps we made them to inherit." The Anunnaki were not one mind. They were factions, architects at war with themselves. And in the shadows, one among them watched humanity with sympathy. A watcher who could not ignore what was unfolding. This watcher descended in secret, not as a king, not as a god, but as a whisper in the night. Humans saw a figure cloaked in starlight. They trembled. They knelt. But the watcher spoke, "Do not worship. I did not come for praise. You were abandoned." Unfinished, the humans asked with shaking voices, "Why were we made?" And the watcher paused, as if the truth itself was heavy. "You were made for labor, but you were born for more." And so the forbidden gift began. The watcher showed humans the language of the earth. How to shape stone into tools. How to plant seeds in harvest time. How to read the sky and predict the seasons. Humans listened as if drinking life itself. Knowledge moved through them like electricity. For the first time, they were not surviving. They were building. Villages rose. Fires burned in circles, and humanity began to transform the planet. But above, the Anunnaki felt the shift, like a tremor in the cosmic order. The watcher gave one final gift. Not fire, not farming, but something more dangerous: symbols, marks, writing, the ability to trap thought inside stone, to preserve memory beyond death. The watcher warned, "This is power, because gods rule through forgetting, but writing is remembering." Humans carved the first lines, the first record, the first rebellion against silence. And in that moment, history truly began. The Anunnaki descended like a storm. Their voices shook the mountains. Who has taught them? The humans fell to the ground. But they were not the same as before. Their eyes held awareness. The gods saw it, and they were afraid. One Anunnaki stepped forward. Furious, they were not meant to know. The forbidden teacher stood among them. Silent, unbowed, contaminated the experiment. You have given fire to clay. They are not servants, they are alive. The heavens erupted with division. Some demanded destruction. Others demanded restraint. Because knowledge is not a chain. It is a key. Time passed. The Watcher disappeared. But the gifts remained. Humans built temples, not for gods, but to understand the sky. They formed kingdoms. They crowned rulers. And some rulers claimed, our blood is different. Our lineage is divine. The Anunnaki watched as humans began to imitate them. Power, hierarchy, ambition. The creation was becoming a reflection of its creators. And reflections can replace the original. The Anunnaki gathered once more. One spoke, if they continue, they will surpass us. Another whispered, we should have never given them mind. And the oldest among them said, knowledge was the first mistake. But what comes next will be the final one, because humanity was not only learning, they were multiplying. And soon, they would no longer look up in worship. They would look up in challenge. The Watcher's gift could not be taken back. The fire was lit. The mind was awake. And the gods realized too late the experiment had evolved beyond containment. Humanity was no longer play. It was becoming destiny. And in the darkness beyond the stars, a new plan formed among the Anunnaki, not to teach, not to guide, but to control through blood, because the next chapter was not about knowledge. It was about lineage, hybrids, kings, giants, the Bloodline Project. Their massive ships shimmering like cold diamonds against the void. They watched as the first human cities flickered to life, tiny sparks of defiance in the vast darkness of the earth. On the surface, the Watcher who had stayed behind walked among the ruins of the old world. He saw humans carving their own laws into the very stone that once imprisoned them. They were no longer looking for permission to exist. They were claiming the right to rule their own lives. In the great libraries of the new kingdoms, scholars pored over the forbidden symbols. They realized that the gods' greatest fear wasn't human strength, but human memory. By writing down their history, they were ensuring that no god could ever make them forget who they truly were again. The first great ships set sail across the uncharted oceans, driven by a curiosity that the Anunnaki could never suppress. Every horizon crossed was a boundary broken, a testament to the flame of knowledge that burned brighter with every passing generation. Humanity was no longer a project, it was a force of nature. Deep within the earth, the ancient frequencies of the garden began to harmonize with the rhythm of human progress. The walls of the laboratory had become the foundations of a civilization. The cage was gone, replaced by a world that was finally, truly their own. As the sun rose over a world transformed, the legacy of the garden experiment was clear. The gods had created the vessel, but the spirit within was self-made. The human odyssey had begun. The Anunnaki's shadow finally lifted, leaving a world that was no longer a laboratory, but a home. We looked at our hands, no longer seeing tools of labor, but instruments of creation. The silence of the gods was not an end, but an invitation to speak our own truth into the cosmos. The stars above, once the exclusive domain of the Anunnaki, now beckon to a species that has learned to dream. We are no longer the experiment. We are the explorers of a new cosmic dawn.